I call the City Council meeting for December 13th to order. If everybody would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Councilmember King will lead us, our Vice Mayor.
Hand over your heart. Repeat after me. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. Linda, roll call.
Councilmember Andrusik.
Here.
Councilmember Mercado. Vice Mayor King.
Here.
And Mayor Sierra.
Here. Thank you very much. Councilmember Mercado has an excused absence tonight. Do we have any reordering of the agenda?
No, ma'am.
Alrighty. Public comments. I have 3 speaker slips. If anybody would like to speak about any item, whether on the agenda, off the agenda, a complaint, a compliment, a concern, now is your chance to fill out this speaker slip. Our first speaker tonight will be Mr. Michael Baker.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Michael Baker, CEO for United Boys and Girls Clubs here in Santa Barbara County. Our newest club is in Buellton, which you're well aware of, and I just wanted to, again, thank you for doing the gold card ceremony for our kids. They enjoyed it very much, and we're looking forward to next year's ceremony. I did want to let you know that we do have a current update I'd like to let you know is that we're up to 230 kids, averaging 75 kids a day. And we are now actually being approached and are working with the school district in Solvang to expand, have a program on their school campus. So it wouldn't have happened if it wasn't for the great partnership here in Buellton and the Unified School District. I want to thank Dr. Hagrid and all his wonderful staff for making that happen. For those of you that are wanting to support the clubs here in Buellton, we do have a fundraiser which is a little ways away, but it's never too early to tell you. And I'll pass, do I hand them here for the council members? Here we go. That's for staff and council members. And it's our Corks for Kids event March 8th at the Hotel Cork, and all proceeds will benefit the local Boys and Girls Club here in Buellton and our efforts in reaching more kids.
Wonderful.
So, I want to thank you.
How do you fit 75?
Well, when people ask the maximum occupancy of any building, of any of our Boys and Girls Clubs, we always say it depends how big the children are. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. We are actually growing, and hopefully we can get even more space because the need is definitely there.
Wonderful. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty. Our next speaker is Caroline.
Hi.
Welcome.
Thank you. Members of the Buellton City Council, thank you for allowing me to speak with you. A recurring issue in many cities in California is how best to help the homeless. We feel compassion at the sight of anyone living in such a painful and undignified manner. Ever mindful that each and every single homeless person is made in the image and likeness of God, just the same as you and I. What are the failures of our society and our leadership that result in a person becoming homeless? Many become homeless and stay that way because of drug addiction, so it makes sense that we create public policies that decrease the amount of harmful and addictive drugs in our communities. This will prevent many people from becoming homeless in the first place, which is the first step to solving the problem. Tragically, just the opposite of wise and thoughtful public policy happened in 2016 when Proposition 64 was passed, which made marijuana legal in California. Legal marijuana in Santa Barbara County will only make life more difficult for people who already struggle with staying away from drugs and crime, and more difficult for them to stay employed and be responsible and self-sufficient members of society. Again, we will suffer the predictable results of ignoring common sense, as this bad policy stays in place year after year, quietly contributing to the number of people who become unable to care for themselves and become homeless. As well, voters, we must hold our elected officials accountable and politely ask them, did you support a yes vote on Proposition 64 making marijuana legal in California? Or did you think carefully about the issue, show leadership, and explain to your constituents why Proposition 64 was a bad idea and will only bring problems? And And voters, did you do your part to help your city council and your fellow voters make good decisions by coming to speak at this podium during public comment and advise everyone to vote no on Proposition 64? If we are ever going to solve the problem of homelessness, it will take all members of our community working together, using common sense and good judgment. Thank you for allowing me to speak with you, and may each person listening have a good evening.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
All righty. Our next speaker, Mr. Larry Rankin.
Beauty before age. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm here to go ahead and address the public comment as a rebuttal that was made on November the 8th. It was called Talking Points, read by Dave Swartz and author unknown because it was not signed. My name is Larry Rankin. I live in Buellton and care about our wonderful community. I am here this evening to address the letter, author unknown, that was read in public comments by Dave Swartz. This letter states that the letter I sent to Buellton voters was a dirty trick by an unregistered lobbyist that did not allow time for voters to investigate and may have contributed to Judith Dale's losing the election. Naturally, this would upset her supporters. My letter was clearly dated 2014 on the letterhead and was mailed out to all citizens of Buellton during the 2014 election. The unknown author and citizens of Buellton had 4 years to investigate, to dispute, and challenge the facts of my letter. They did not. Subsequently to the publishing of my 2014 letter, a certain person stated in an email that he would kill me dead, mister, and if I was out for a walk, I better look both ways because he may be out for a drive. The threats were taken seriously enough that the courts awarded a restraining order that is in effect to this day. Last month's City Council letter incorrectly stated that I am a lobbyist, which is far from the truth. California Government Code 82039 states any individual who receives $2,000 or more in economic consideration on a calendar month is a lobbyist. I am a person that wants best for what is for our community and was not paid 1 penny. The unknown author also wrote about being another Russian tool using fake news. When I read that, I can't help but laugh again. I laughed out loud. It's very flattering for our town that the Russians are interested enough to want to take over Buellton. I was born in the United States. I am proud to have served in the military to defend our country and assure you the Russians had nothing to do with it. Lastly, the unknown author states that Buellton needs to have an ordinance enacted to keep this from ever happening again. What unknown author does not seem to understand is that such an ordinance would undermine the rights of all of us to freely express our opinions as set forth in the First Amendment to the United States Constitution. So what I did is I made a copy for each one of you to have, and it also has his letter, it has mine, and it also has the California Government Code in it. So you don't have to do anything else, just take it. And I made one for you too, Mark.
No, I'm going to give it to them so you don't.
Thank you very much, and you'll have a wonderful evening.
Thank you, Larry.
Thanks, Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Rankin. And our last speaker under public comment, unless anybody wants to run over to the table and throw out a slip, is Mr. Eric Daniels. Welcome.
Hi, council members. Eric Daniels with PG&E, and I come before you today just to say we apologize. We apologize for the frustration that the community has had on the Avenue flags. And the company is very aware of it. We've worked with your staff. They have been very professional and very diligent in getting us to the table. and to work on what the problem is. We've had a number of hiccups with respect to it. I've spoken to each of you individually to try to bring you up to speed on what it is. There are a lot of attachments that have been made. We have removed most of those attachments, isolated them over time, and that's why we had them coming on and then going off, and coming on and going off. We've now got them all on, except for about 5 of them on the southernmost part of the avenue south of 246. We'll be working with staff as you guys, hopefully now they'll hold and things will go along fine, although we've had to remove all of the spotlights that you had on the flags, and out of respect the staff has removed the flags, which is the right thing to do, and we thank you for that. We will now, hopefully they hold. The staff in the city will now consider what you're going to do on the avenue. I know there's one of the medians you're talking about doing some renovations to. Before we go in and do major renovations to our system, we want to know what you're going to do so that we're not duplicating effort. So we'll work in concert with the staff on that. But I wanted to come before you today, let you know that the company is very much aware of the situation. I've had the streetlights management team here to meet with staff and to inspect, and we do have a plan going forward, and hopefully we will not have the same recurrence as we've had in the last month and a half. So apologize for that, and just wanted to come here personally and offer that to you.
Well, pleasure to meet you.
Thank you.
And thank you for coming. Thank you. It's nice to have the Cobra lights back on. That was a safety issue a lot of residents were worried about, and we do appreciate the work to get that put back up.
We appreciate that. Thank you.
You have a request on agenda item number 14. Did you want to speak now, or do you want to wait until we get to the library?
I would like to just do now. I'm
Absolutely.
feeling ill and
Our last speaker is Mr. Whitney Ayuda? Weta. I'm sorry. Mr. Weta.
Dear Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I want to thank you for allowing me to take the time to read this into the record on behalf of my wife, Sherry Weta, a former Buellton librarian. Dear Honorable Mayor and City Council members, I had planned to attend this meeting in person, but there arose a family need for me to be elsewhere. I cannot tell you how thrilled I was to hear last summer of the plan for our own Buellton Library to leave the control of Santa Barbara and move into Zone 4. I'm a former employee of Buellton Library. For 18 years, I experienced firsthand the privilege and enjoyment of serving the citizens of Buellton and their surrounding valley. Recently, I had the opportunity of going to Goleta Library in person to meet Director Allison Gray. I found her to be a welcoming, capable, sensitive, supportive, and sympathetic individual who demonstrated appreciation for her own employees, just the type of the director that will help Buellton Library to thrive. I am convinced this is the right move for us to be under the direction of Goleta Zone. I want to thank all the members of the City Council, the Mayor, and Judith Dale, all of you who were instrumental and influential who pushed for this upcoming move, working to bring about this positive change. I'm looking forward to being able to volunteer my time and energy during and after the transition to help make Buellton Library the very best library it can be. Thank you, Sherry Weta.
Mr. Weta, thank you very much for coming to read it tonight. I have that right here. Thank you very much. Okay, I have no other public comments unless anybody's running for the table. I'm closing public comment. Moving on to the consent calendar. We have the minutes of November 8th, 2018 special City Council meeting, minutes of November 8th, 2018 regular City Council meeting, list of claims to be approved and ratified for payment to date for fiscal year 2018-19, year 2018 proposed calendar of City Council meetings, revenue and expenditure reports through November 30th, 2018, the monthly treasurer's report, October 31st, 2018, and resolution number 18-23, a resolution of the City Council of the City of Buellton, California, declaring and certifying the result of the general municipal election held on November 6th, 2018.
Can you read number 5 again?
Did I miss the revenue and expenditure?
Growth mitigation annual compliance report.
I have the wrong one. Growth Mitigation Annual Compliance Report for fiscal year 2017-18. I have, I guess, an older version of it?
Yeah, we had an older.
Thank you. Gentlemen.
Move for approval.
Second.
Linda?
Okay, Vice Mayor King
Aye.
and Councilmember Andrusik
Aye.
and Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. So we move on to presentations, which I believe is probably where most of you are here. This is one of the best honors a mayor can have. Bittersweet. We have 3 presentations to make tonight. We have 3 longtime employees who are retiring. And so tonight we are going to honor them. And our first honoree will be Joe Meehan. What I'm going to do is go down. I get to read you your plaque. And then if you stand there, then I'll call Ray up and read Ray your plaque. And then I'll call John up and read him his. And then they can take pictures. And we'll have a little break for cookies and water if anybody wants it. So, Joe, you're up first. There's a lot of whereases and wherefores, but we'll get through it. Hi there.
Hi.
Okay, proclamation honoring Public Works employee Joe Meehan. Whereas Joe has announced his retirement from the City of Buellton Public Works Department effective December 26, 2018 after 30 years of continuous service. And whereas Joe began his career with the Buellton Community Services District, the BCSD, on January 1st, 1988 as a groundskeeper. A few years later, he was promoted to Field Worker 1 and 2 and continued his employment after the city incorporated in 1992. Whereas Joe received his certifications in Water Treatment 1 and 2, Water Distribution 1, 2, and 3, Wastewater Treatment Grade 1 and 2, and in October 2014, he was promoted to Lead Maintenance and Utility Field Worker for the Water Division. And whereas Joe is the lead operator of the city's water treatment plants and often goes above and beyond to help our community, and we acknowledge him for his professionalism and commitment to Buellton. And whereas, Joe has provided outstanding service to the city of Buellton for 30 years, and although he is retiring, he will always be remembered as a valued employee dedicated to both his position and our community. Now therefore I, Holly Sierra, Mayor of the City of Buellton, on behalf of Buellton City Council, hereby commend Joe Meehan for his service to the City of Buellton and the community for the past 30 years.
Thank you.
Congratulations. 30 years. 31 years. 31 years.
Time
Sorry.
flies.
Did you want to say anything before we move on?
thank you.
Stay here. We'll take care of Ray next. We still have a lot of whereases and wherefores for you too, right? Hi there.
Hello.
Okay. Proclamation honoring Public Works employee Ray Ochoa. Whereas Ray has announced his retirement from the City of Buellton Public Works Department effective December 28, 2018, after 10 years of continuous service. And whereas Ray began his career with the City of Buellton on April 1st, 2008 as a Maintenance and Utility Field Worker 2, and whereas Ray received his certifications in Water Treatment 1, Water Distribution 1 and 2, and Wastewater Grade 2, and whereas Ray often goes above and beyond to help our community, and we acknowledge him for his professionalism and commitment to Buellton, and whereas Ray has provided outstanding service to the City of Buellton for 10 years, and although he is retiring, he will always be remembered as a valued employee dedicated to both his position and our community. Now therefore I, Holly Sierra, as Mayor of City of Buellton, on behalf of the Buellton City Council, hereby commend Ray Ochoa for his service to the City of Buellton and the community for the past 10 years. Congratulations. One more. Mr. John Sanchez, who we're probably going to see a little bit more of.
Yeah.
All righty, you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. Proclamation honoring Public Works employee John Sanchez. Whereas John has announced his retirement from the City of Buellton Public Works Department effective January 12, 2018, after 36 years of continuous service. And whereas John began his career with the Buellton Community Services District, the BCSD, on March 1, 1982, as a fieldman in training, he was subsequently promoted to Field Worker 1, 2, and 3, and became Chief Plant Operator of the wastewater treatment plant and continued his employment after the city incorporated in 1992. And whereas John received his certifications in Water Treatment 1 and 2, Water Distribution 1 and 2, and Wastewater Treatment Grade 1, 2, and 3, and whereas John was the Chief Plant Operator of the city's wastewater treatment plant and often goes above and beyond to help our community, and we acknowledge him for his professionalism and commitment to Buellton. Whereas John has provided outstanding service to the city of Buellton for 36 years, and although he is retiring, he will always be remembered as a valued employee dedicated to both his position and our community. Now therefore I, Holly Sierra, Mayor of the City of Buellton, on behalf of the Buellton City Council, hereby commend John Sanchez for his service to the City of Buellton and the community for the past 36 years. Congratulations. And in 36, we've got 77 years of service with three of you. Why don't you come up here and we'll get a picture with the Buellton seal. Do you mind? And the rest of the council, of course. Get this out of the way.
Are we supposed to hold these or set them down?
Whatever you want to do.
But all do the same thing.
No, you're all
Or do you want
good.
me?
Just squeeze in by the seal. We're going to get a picture.
Come over here. Make it a chair. There we go.
There we go. Much better. Yeah. Where's your sign?
Who are we looking at?
Everybody. That furnace vent. I just, you know, there's going to be this hole left in the city, and I'm sure, you know, nobody's indispensable, but boy, gentlemen have made a mark on this town, and it's been great.
Thank you for your service. Thank you.
All righty. Thank you. Thanks for coming tonight. All righty. Now, do you want to do the public hearing and the oath and then take a break, or do you want to take a break right now while everybody's running in and out?
Probably a break now, huh?
There are cookies and water over there if anybody would like to grab one. There's our celebration. Ready? All righty. We're getting back to our council meeting, and Mr. Berzynski, do we have any public hearings tonight?
No, ma'am.
Okay. Councilmember comments/items. Councilmember Andrasik, any comments or items for you?
You know, I would like to, perhaps, you know, we're going to be setting goals and objectives. I think we've had quite a bit of interest in the one little camera we have up in the corner. And I would like us to look into having a camera operator so that the people that are speaking, that Solvang has had that for quite a while. It's a service that one of the fellow that does the county is very reasonable with, and I'd like us to revisit that. We did it once before. I think that it was a $1,200 expenditure, and it's not budget hearing, but I would like us to revisit that and see if there's an interest, because it's I think it's nice that people watch it and they say they don't know who's speaking, or they can't see the diagrams that go on the board, so it allows them to be at home and yet benefit from all of the public presentation that is made by staff and visitors.
Okay.
That'd be a future agenda item.
I think that's fine. Vice Mayor King?
Well, the only thing that I have is the lighting of the tree. Ed and Holly and I were all there. I hope that many of you were out there. We had snow on the ground for the kids. The Santa was there, had pictures taken. The tree lighting went off without a hitch, and it seemed like everybody was having a pretty good time.
I'll piggyback on that. I think our Visitors Bureau did a really good job. They had all these last minute, everything that can go wrong kind of did go wrong. The lighting wasn't working, so we had emergency lights there. The snow showed up late and we weren't sure. I mean, most of the kids were ready to play in the snow while they were still blowing it, so the kids got to watch and see how artificial snow is made. And they did a really, really good job. Thanks to PG&E for getting our lights back on the avenue. I truly appreciate Mr. Daniels coming tonight. I had mentioned a while back, and I don't know where you are in the research, about our vehicles, when we, how much we're spending on the vehicles with gas and servicing, versus, I know Rose had talked about new vehicle way back when, and we said that we thought we could make do, but some of the bills that I'm signing are high, and I'd really like to see what exactly we're spending on the vehicles that we have.
We'll put a report together. I'll work with Chanel and Rose on that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Nothing else? Is Gretchen on her way?
No.
Okay, then we're moving on. Council reorganization. We have an oath of office for newly elected officials. That would be everybody here. Councilmember Mercado was sworn in yesterday. So you've got a big job tonight.
There you go, four of you.
Okay.
Come on up, John.
Do you want us all down here?
We'll do it up top here.
Okay.
So you each get, it looks like a junior high yearbook. It's not though. So it is a certificate of election and an oath of office for each of you. So that one's for Ed. I'm going to pass that down. And that one is for Dave. And that one's for John. And one for Holly. So that shows that you were elected in your term, what your term is, either a 2-year or 4-year seat, and your oath of office that has been signed. So I'm just going to read the oath of office to you. You don't have to repeat it back to me. Just say, I do, when you're finished. So if everybody puts up their right hand. Okay, do you all solemnly affirm that you will support and defend the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of California against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that you will bear true faith and allegiance to the Constitution of the United States, the Constitution of the State of California, that you take this obligation freely without any mental reservation or purpose of evasion, and that you will well and faithfully discharge the duties upon which you are about to enter.
I do.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Have a seat, sir.
There you go. There's your seat, your computer, and your blank paychecks.
There we go. All righty. Yoo-hoo! 2 more
Well,
years.
that's the first time all of us have been sworn in at the same time.
Yeah,
Too much swearing going on.
that's
A lot
right.
of swearing.
Going on.
Lot of
Very,
swearing.
very, very nice. Okay. The next item for the reorganization is an appointment of a vice mayor.
I would like to nominate Art Mercado for that position.
I was going to nominate Ed Andrasik.
I was going to nominate Ed Andrusik as well. For the good of the order, I think, and perhaps what would help with this is if we did try to have a protocol. We've used a protocol in previous replacements of exiting council members that the next voter in line with the number of votes had historically was considered, and there were times that they were not interested or had moved on. So it seemed like an appropriate rule to follow, and just would maybe help us if we could agree on that. I would second the motion of being vice mayor, but I think the number of votes would dedicate it better than the nomination process after a general election. So,
Well, you know, everybody says that, and then some cities, as soon as they get to where they need to appoint somebody, then that changes. So it's good and
Very
fine until you
possible.
get your next council here, and then they may not agree with that.
okay.
So but I think consensus here is Ed Andrasik as vice mayor
Yeah, I
tonight?
will change my position and to Ed.
Okay. And then, while we're at that, because I think that, that was a vague part, and maybe we can get legal opinion on it. If the vice mayor is typically the backup for the mayor, if we're at a 2-year term for the mayor, I wonder if that would be appropriate, or do we wish to operate year by year? And that can be decided next year if you like, but it's just.
Sure. The vice mayor, as you noted, Mr. Vice Mayor, is generally a ceremonial term. You run the meetings when the mayor can't be here. Because of that, it really falls within the discretion of the council. Unless you had something in your code that required the vice mayor to be selected at a certain time, it really becomes up to you, in much the same way that the mayor said, in looking at how you want to deal with selection of the vice mayor in the future. You may not want to bind future councils. I leave it up to the 4 of you and to Councilman, or to Art when he gets back as well. However you guys want to do it is perfectly open.
So maybe we should bring it back for discussion.
Absolutely, but I mean, we're unique in this particular situation for this issue because all of us have a term that would be the full 24 months. And, a lot of things change. We had a real tremendous loss of 3 council members in 1 year, and created a snafu for us. But maybe this would be, could be considered for. I don't know if staff feels we need any more discussion on it, but I'm agreeing that we should get Art's input on it.
I think it should come back to council.
Would you go by percentage or by votes? This question. Okay, that was a funny because John has the most percentage.
Just saying, huh? Just saying.
I would like to be given the opportunity to deny that or not accept the percentage and go by the votes.
Okay.
I think.
I like the vote.
I think
the vote count
I think
is
it'll
what
come back.
voters
Well, I
elect.
think we might also want to consider that because it is a ceremonial position, not an elected position, that if you go with a 24-month, then some of the people on this council will never be the vice mayor.
And remember when you and I were elected, that was a really big deal, that everybody had an opportunity,
Right.
so.
Okay.
Well, that's something for discussion.
Fine.
We'll bring it back. All righty, written communications,
No, ma'am.
committee reports. Any report from you?
You know, CCWA did not meet, we will not meet until the end of this month, but I will bring to the public's attention that the Central Coast Water Authority has been working on an assignment requesting that, since the Central Coast Water Authority manages the entirety of CCWA, but all of the final decisions, everything that the state needed done has to go through the Board of Supervisors. And the Department of Water and Power are the people, the California Department of Water and Power are the people that really rule the roost on what has to be done and who can have what in moving water around. We're in an interesting year because the storm has helped refresh some of the aquifers, but the bigger thing is, and an example would be the Orville Dam that collapsed. I mean, that was an act of God. That was a flood, but it's a $1 billion cost, and they're looking at $750 million shortfall. So somewhere there's going to be some bond issues to come up for that, and so the board authorized a couple of representatives, Ray Stokes and a member from each of the bodies that operate here in the valley, to meet with the supervisors to request to bring them up to date. So this last Monday we had a meeting with Supervisor Joan Hartman in her office, explaining the request to have the Board of Supervisors do an assignment or transfer of the rights. And again, the reason for that is the bonding. CCWA, in their initial bonds are 2035. Well, we're 2021, so there's only 15 years remaining. We've had some severe ruptures and pipeline issues that have needed sizable amounts of money, and when we go to the money market to get funding, we're having to do it on a shorter and shorter period, and that all that does is raises the amount of monthly payment, which is passed on to the citizens that pay the bills, because it's all the bottom line to the citizens. So I believe Supervisor Hartman she seemed receptive to the idea, and our understanding is that the county Department of Water, Tom Farnham, is working well with CCWA, and they encourage this transfer to be made to CCWA for the operation of the Central Coast Water packet. And so you'll probably be seeing that whenever the supervisors work on it. That's how this came about, but it's been about a year in the making for discussion. And it was DWR's suggestion that we try to have our bonding opportunity expanded rather than restricted, because every day it's one day and it takes quite a while to get money approved through bonding. It's generally a year or so, and at one point people would just say they don't want to do it anymore. But if you want to have water, you need to pay the bill. So that's CCWA.
Thank you. Nothing. We had a library. Yes, sir.
I had a question. Did we elect a vice mayor just now, or
Yes.
did we have a vote?
We did have a consensus.
Oh, okay. I didn't know if that was an aye and nay. Okay.
Didn't need, there were
Okay.
3 in favor, so
Okay.
we're good.
Thank you.
But, yeah. And I had an SBCAG meeting, and basically what the Valley is involved with is that the safety study is going to begin in January, our Valley-wide safety study. So they're trying to get some dates together, and we will go from there. And there was a library meeting today, and our vice mayor couldn't make it because of work, and your mayor messed up. She got the time wrong. So Judith Dale was at the meeting and stood in for Buellton, thank heavens. There's somebody who knew what they were doing today.
We'll get the minutes.
Alrighty, we'll get the minutes. Moving on to our business items. Business item number 12, consideration of appointments to the Planning Commission. Mr. Beardsinski.
Honorable Mayor, members of the City Council, Brian Dunstan, Joe Padilla, and Marcelo Sarquia's terms expire this month for Planning Commission. Commissioner Sarquia has indicated a desire to be considered for reappointment, and he has filed his application. Commissioners Dunstan and Padilla have decided not to apply, so their last meeting will be next Thursday. We advertised through the Santa Ynez Valley News and posted in public places in the community a notice soliciting letter of interest pertaining to the applications, and we received 4 applications from Bob Blockdyke, Diane Craig, Michael Eglin, and Marcelo Sarquia. Mr. Blockdyke is an anniversary trip with his wife and could not make it to the meeting, but is interested in pursuing appointment to the Planning Commission and has talked to the mayor regarding that. So the City Council should conduct interviews of the applicants and make 3 appointments to the Planning Commission with terms of office expiring December 2022.
Wonderful. All righty. I guess first we're going to talk to the applicants, and then we will move on and open it up for the public if there's any comments or questions, and bring it back to council. Diane Craig is the first applicant that pops up. Hi there, welcome.
Thank you.
And thank you for applying.
Do you want me to come up here?
Come on up to the microphone, so even if they can't see you at home, they can at least hear you.
Well, I can see you.
That's all that counts. Welcome.
Thank you.
So you've been in Buellton a little over a year.
That's right. I know we're new here, and I don't know any of you. The one person I recognize has left the room. Everybody knows Bobby and loves him. So
everybody knows Bobby.
And I have met you on one occasion. Santa Ynez Valley Botanic Garden meeting, and that is one of the reasons, one of the real attractions to us when we came to this community. This was a purpose move for us. We retired, we have family in Santa Barbara, and Riverview Park and the view from Riverview Park and the Botanic Garden are one of your real jewels. The city is beautifully organized, beautifully run, and
we are very fortunate, aren't we?
Yes,
we are very fortunate. Well, I see you've got wonderful credentials. I know you've had to answer questions, and I don't know if people have had an opportunity, the public's had an opportunity to read the packet to get it. What do you see your job as planning commissioner or on the planning commission to do?
To be.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you why I applied. And it's because I care. I care very much about children and their future on this planet and in this community. I care very much about the community, having come here. And I think I've had enough experiences, I'm a little older than some of you, but to have maybe something to offer, particularly regarding a future that may be, I think Buellton is well insulated from the challenges of, but will experience, in my belief, over the coming years. And that has to do with, well, we came here and there were fires, and of course there's the continuing drought, and then the UN came out with their first annual report on the CO2 excess in our atmosphere, and then there was more recently the US climate assessment, which sounded kind of dire, because it mentioned for the first time economic and health effects of this global situation. So background-wise, I have peripheral experience with 2 churches with community gardens in Sacramento and their benefits to the community. I have friends interested in this and came across and ran this by them. Something that I think Buellton is really able to embrace, and whether or not I'm appointed to the Planning Commission, I want the City Council and the Planning Commission and the Planning Department to know about regenerative agriculture if you don't. And the concept of regenerative agriculture is that it can sequester that carbon back into the soil, and it can regenerate that soil, replenish that soil, which will allow the soil itself to hold water, which in a drought condition will help, and in a flood possibility will help hold the water. And I think you guys have designed this place so beautifully that within the city limits there are many opportunities that I see just walking around. I see vacant lots. The concept of regenerative agriculture, if you don't know, involves no tilling, cover crops, planting things together that act synergistically to improve the mineral content and the quality of the soil. And the studies show increased yields, things like that. I think there's opportunities for education in the school on this. I know also another thing that was in Sacramento besides these community gardens were gardens in the schools. And they had the kids out there learning to love their land.
We have a beautiful garden at Oak Valley School.
Okay, well, I haven't been to Oak Valley School. We're new here, and I will. I'm glad you do. I really am pleased to know that. But that's my interest, is the help. I have my own reasons for that. And the quality of life that comes with the environmental public health.
Well, thank
so that's
you.
my reason for applying. If there's anything you want to know about me or my background, please ask.
It's pretty extensive. I was very impressed. Whether or not you are selected tonight, Buellton does have a green team, and we could sure use your help on the green team.
I meant to mention that. I knew you had that, and I also know about the green, all the green things. The Planning Commission has applied for their certification, right?
Yeah.
I did want to mention just my own experience in a city a lot bigger than this one, up north. I gather you're starting to work on a trail with the
slowly but surely.
I know, slowly but surely. So I'm just going to offer that our big backyard in Sacramento was the American River, which had a 26-mile bike and multi-purpose trails, which was really beautiful, but it had two unintended consequences. So I'm just going to mention them so that they won't be unintended here. One was the horse trail was formed next to the paved bike trail. There was a dirt horse trail. And every year they tried to keep the weeds back with spraying it with the pesticide. And the result was star thistle. That was the only thing that grew in that area. Star thistle is toxic to horses. And not only that, it did not confine itself to growing in that area. It is rampant up there as a very invasive plant. So figuring out the maintenance of a trail ahead of time without that intended consequence, I think, is the desired thing. The other undesired thing was human. A horse trail off the bike trail was used often by bicycles, I think, to deliver things that might otherwise have...
Delivery service.
Kind of off the record deliveries, and it created some problems for us.
Thank you.
That's all.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Any questions?
No, I appreciate your accounting background. I think that's...
Well,
we have quite an expense at our park.
I really, I could read the stories. I think that was my strength. I could read the stories in accounts. And again, this is a community, I think we know we're here to stay till whatever, and if I can serve that community, I'd be happy to do that.
Terrific. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Eglin, step on up. Next on the hot seat. Welcome. Thank you for applying.
Thanks for having me.
What is your interest in serving on the Planning Commission?
Okay, well, I too live down by Riverview Park, and it is fantastic. I moved to Buellton a year and a half ago from Santa Barbara. I've been in Santa Barbara County for about 20 years, and we specifically moved here because of the atmosphere of the community, its size, and the services it provides, and it's a wonderful place. I love it. I come from a family of civil engineers, and they brought their work home with them. And at first, I didn't like it, but over time, I developed an interest in how communities are planned, what's sustainable, what isn't. And I noticed in the first year, driving around, checking out Buellton, I'm like, there's a lot of projects going on. And then I panicked, and I thought, oh no, we're going to turn into Lompoc. Anyhow, no offense if you're from Lompoc, sorry. It's just, there's some issues up there. When the Planning Commission thing came up, I began asking around friends of mine, what's going on with this construction over here? What's going on with these housing units? What's going on with this? What's going on with that? And what's the direction that the community wants? What's the style, architecture? Are we going to annex agricultural land? And eventually, most of them said, why don't you apply to be on the commission if you're really that interested? And so eventually I said, you know what, I'll look into it, and I understand there's a large learning curve. I read the specific plan for the Avenue of the Flags and was blown away. It's very comprehensive and very bold, and specifically wondered who came up with the Art Deco design, which is a bold stroke, but I think it can be a great idea. You guys, right?
Many years.
Well, and a nice contrast to, Santa Barbara's got its design. Solvang has its, flip. And I think for Buellton to embrace something different and to try and attract more of the tourism in a pedestrian-friendly environment is a fantastic idea. The projected tax revenue, I wondered if that was conservative. I think it was like $746,000 a year projected or something like that, but certainly we could use that financially. So I think that's the short to medium story.
All righty.
Thank you.
Gentlemen, any questions?
Nope. All right, thank you.
All right, thank you. Marcelo, step on up. First of all, thank you for reapplying. I've been told that you have been very active and have contributed quite a bit to our Planning Commission. So I'd like to thank you for your service and that you still want to continue.
I do. I've enjoyed the year on the Planning Commission. My family and I are always discussing Buellton in the future. I have 2 children with environmental science degrees, and they're always considering the future and where we are at this point. And my second daughter is one of the on-site managers at the farmer's market and a farmer. So she's always considering and wanting to know what the outlying areas are doing in the farms, and hopefully bringing the farmer's market back to Buellton as well as Solvang and some of the others. But yeah, I'd like to continue if you'll have me.
Terrific. Gentlemen, any questions?
No, I think your performance speaks for your willingness to tackle all the issues. You've never shied from them, and I've always enjoyed your depth of research that you've done on past projects. So I think you would be of value to continue on our Planning Commission.
I thank you.
All righty. Thank you very much, Marcelo. Bob came into my office during mayor's hours yesterday to talk to me. He has been the manager or owner of Windmill Nursery right outside of town, just outside of city limits, for over 32 years. And every time I would go over there, he'd ask about what's going on in the city and what's this project and that project. And I said, you should really get involved. And he said, I live right outside city limits, I can't get involved. Well, 4 years ago, he moved into town. And he is very, very interested in serving, was very apologetic that he couldn't make it tonight. I told him that I thought he was probably very smart in taking his wife out on their anniversary than being here tonight, that probably was a better move.
That's a good judgment.
Yeah, I thought so too. But he really is very, very interested and asked me to just speak for him. So, those are the applicants. I don't have any speaker slips. Is there anybody from the audience who'd like to fill out a slip and speak on behalf or has questions for any of our very qualified applicants? Nope. Okay. Then I bring it back to council. We need to make some decisions. Unfortunately, we have 3 positions and 4 very qualified people. So I...
We do them one at a time?
Well...
You can write all 4 names down and then tally each one of them, Mark?
Well...
Want to do that?
We can do that. I would very much like to keep Marcelo on the Planning Commission. I don't know if anybody has any opposition to that. I think that's one. That's one. That leaves Mr. Blodyke, Ms. Craig, and Mr. Eglin. And
I would recommend Mr. Blockdyke. I know him. I respect him.
I think he would do a good job too.
I would like to say the same thing.
Okay, is Mr. Blockdyke okay?
Well, I'm happy that he lives in the town. I've always wondered why he didn't. I actually preferred we'd move the boundaries outside of his business.
I know you did. Okay, so...
And I think Bob was good. I just believe that I appreciated Ms. Craig's applying. I think we need somebody that's going to bring a business approach to it, but I believe that Bob, being a businessman, he wouldn't be in business if he wasn't running effectively. So that's what we would like to see.
I think he's taking good care of Windmill, and
I support Bob.
I think he cares about our community. Okay, that leaves Ms. Craig and Mr. Eglin, and I'm kind of torn because I think they both serve well.
I did like what Mr. Eglin said. I liked his what he wrote. I like his tier approach to development, and I would like to support him for that position.
Do we have consensus there?
Second that.
That would be fine. I appreciate it. I think we're blessed to have more than we have spaces, but it always makes it tough. And I think that I have seen Mr. Eglin in many of the events that we have, which is, I think, should be specified how much we appreciate. The community likes to see their decision makers at events, and it allows them to open up to things they do not feel comfortable just coming to the microphone.
Well, we've got how wonderful we have community members who care enough to get out of that comfort zone. So, okay, so my understanding is we're going with Marcelo, Bob Blodyke, and Michael Eglin.
Correct.
And Ms. Craig, thank you very, very much for applying. And get a hold of me. I'd love to get you on the green team. I'd love to get you more involved with our community. Thank you very much. Okay.
And can I say one thing, Mike? You might want to limit referencing communities in their surrounding area.
I apologize. That slipped
in a public forum.
The first time I traveled to LA, I freaked out. I was like, oh my God, what a nightmare. And my friend who lived there said stop.
Well.
Yeah, I'm going to not say anything there either. Okay, moving on to appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Mark, you want to, or Linda, you want to go down the list and...
Well, sure. You've got the attachment
we
there.
We have the attachment.
And you have who is already appointed currently. Mark's got the list in front of him. I don't. So it's attached to the back of that. So
I was told that Councilmember Mercado would like to keep what he has.
No, it's not.
He was not here tonight. Thank you. So it doesn't mean that that's the way. If anybody, we've divvied this thing up. Everybody's kind of got a heavy load because there were the 4 of us and all these committees. Thank you. And so now that we have 5 again, it'll be nice to spread it out a little bit more.
Yeah, so if you guys have your attachment, you've got all the committees on the left side, and then your current representatives, and that tells you how many are appointed to that current board. So if you can reference that sheet, you can just maybe go one by one. And
Perfect.
That'll be easy.
We will do
That's
that.
page 69 of your
Thank you.
package.
Thank you. And that one's current. I don't have a, yeah. Sorry about that, Mark. The first one we have is Central Coast Water Authority. Mr. Andrasik has been covering that for a while. He's well-versed in water. And I kind of think we should keep you as the board member. We do need an alternate. Art said he would like to continue as alternate, and you are wastewater, water treatment. I don't know if any of these items.
If it's something you want to, if you want to get out of it and give it, and
Yes.
let me be.
Well, on that one, you actually have a third alternate
So you
as
can
well.
have 2 alternates.
Okay, so we can have
John the third.
Art and John as the second and third alternates. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Terrific.
For which?
The Central Coast Water Authority.
Oh, okay.
You
those
are
two.
the member, and
Okay.
it will be Mercado and Sanchez instead
Okay.
of Sierra.
All right.
Okay? The County Library Advisory Committee, Mr. King took it over from me last year. I do miss it. They meet quarterly, and I would either take it back, or if you have an interest in the library, John, if you'd like, I could do it and you could be the alternate, or you could do it and I could be your alternate.
I'd like to be the alternate.
Okay?
I'd be glad to
And
do that.
you don't mind giving that one up?
Yeah, I've always felt like I've been behind the curve on that, so.
So it would be
you're
Sierra
primary
and Sanchez. Santa Barbara County Association of Governments, that works directly with the Air Pollution Control District. I have been the board member on those committees, and I would love to stay there if I could.
That's good.
Kind of like Central Coast Water Authority, I feel like I've gotten the hang of who's there.
It's not an easy job to swing into, and it, you only meet like 12 times a year, and there's a lot that goes on, and you keep abreast of it. And
Yeah.
I would endorse you.
Okay. Alternate,
I've enjoyed being your alternate.
would you like to
When
continue?
you've left town. You don't leave town very often.
No. Working on it.
I would be happy.
Okay. Joint Powers Insurance Authority, Vice Mayor Andrasik has done it with Art as the alternate.
Did we skip
Wait, you just
APC?
missed
Did we skip?
Air Pollution Control
Joint-
District.
No, I thought we put those together.
Together. So they're
Oh,
both.
they are.
Yeah.
She did lump them together.
I did.
Okay.
I didn't
When
hear
you
that.
go to one meeting, you break for lunch, and the next
Oh,
meeting's
okay.
right after it.
Yep.
So, thank you. California Joint Powers Insurance Authority,
I've enjoyed my service on it, and if Art, did Art express an interest?
Art would like to be the alternate.
Okay. I think it's worked well.
Insurance agency, is that okay with you
Yeah, oh, yeah,
guys?
absolutely. They're doing a great job.
League of California Cities voting delegate, usually it's the mayor and vice mayor. Although that doesn't really have to be. We decide that just before the delegation, the
Typically,
convention.
it's mayor and vice mayor.
Yeah.
In the past.
This year we didn't go.
Right.
The Buellton Chamber of Commerce Board of Directors. Mr. Mercado is serving right now. He would like to continue serving, but is there anybody else who would like to step up and
I could be an alternate on that, unless someone else wants.
Is there an alternate?
there is no alternate on the chamber,
Yeah, I
is there?
don't know why.
No, there's not.
Okay. That's fine.
I think, but is the attendance met then? I mean, without an alternate, are we
Well,
represented there?
I talked to the chamber this afternoon, and they've changed their meeting time to allow,
To accommodate.
Councilmember Mercado to attend.
Because that was the question I had. I'd been a couple of times and he wasn't there.
And you
but
can
I-
only serve 2 years at a time on the chamber, if I remember their bylaws.
Oh.
So next year we'll have to find somebody else, so perhaps you'd like to step up next year?
You can do that.
Okay. Okay, the multi-jurisdictional solid waste tax group.
I'll speak to that because that's something that has spent a tremendous amount of money in organizing, and we have not gotten any. We do have a spot. The spot is picked. We've been told the development, our meetings used to be about 2 a year, and now it's about every 2 years. But it's been a long
They're
time. I
starting
took
to
over
ramp it
from
up.
Councilmember Whitehair, but I think that John's experience with this solid waste topic it will really help Buellton be represented, because there's some heavy expenses, the things that they're talking about. I'll give you an example. When it first started up, Germany's aerobic what was it, incineration program they had, 2 Board of Supervisors went to Germany to look at this plant and watch the stuff get burned, and supported it, and we've not gone any further other than that was one of the processes. There are 2 or 3 different processes for treating solid waste, but we would be very well represented with John's experience. I don't think we have anyone more qualified than.
I think that's
And so Councilmember Andresic and Sanchez would be on it, because there's 2 members, not alternates.
I think Mr. Sanchez should be a member. Mr. Mercado wanted to stay a member as well.
Okay, so you'll drop out of that. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
The Economic Development Task Force, how many times did we meet last year?
Probably twice.
Okay. Okay.
As is?
I like it, but did Mr. Sanchez?
I'm all right. You sound good.
Okay. Then we'll keep it the way it is. Okay.
King and
Sierra. Yeah.
Okay.
The City/School District Joint Use Committee, Mr. Mercado is the appointee and would like to continue, but
no
does
problem.
anybody want to jump in on the
If he
school?
wants to continue, that's good.
Okay. Mr. Mercado stays there. Home for Good, SBC, formerly the Central Coast Collaborative on Homelessness, that meets quarterly. I am the current representative. We meet in Buellton. It's usually a Wednesday morning from 9:30 to 11:30. Would anybody like to take that one over for me?
Are you saying you would like to take a break? I thought you were doing a great job.
I would take that from you if you want me to.
Thank
So
you.
Okay.
Thank you
carry
very
some
much.
weight.
Terrific.
And no alternate?
I appreciate that. There is no
All
alternate.
right.
Thank you.
That's-
You know, you have a voice there, and you get some really great ideas, but it's not really a problem. When you've got Santa Barbara there, and Lompoc there, and Santa Maria there, and they're discussing their issues, you just feel really grateful that you live in Buellton. It's
And
just-
I do.
See, I didn't slam any cities. I just.
Better phrased.
Thank you. Association of California Water Agency/Joint Powers Insurance Authority. Mr. Andresic, you've been doing that one? Is that?
I've been fine. I haven't, I think if, maybe staff could say how we even have this association.
Well, in order to be a part of the California Water JPIA, we have to have one of you as an elected official be on their board.
Right.
So that's part of their bylaws, and it's required.
And that's our vision and dental, correct?
Yeah.
And we are providing, the vision and dental plans.
So there's not much activity that goes with it.
That's
It's more
right.
ceremonial.
And it's quite a drive, and I think they have meetings in other states and things like that, which is quite a costly thing, and it's very hard for me to
But no requirement, no requirement
there's
for
no
you to go.
requirement to go, so
Correct.
therefore,
Okay.
But we can't be a part of that agency without someone on the board.
Correct.
So.
And I wouldn't have any problem if someone else wanted to have their name on that board, but we don't even have name tags.
So are you continuing, or are you?
No, I'm just saying if someone else wanted to do it, I'm fine, yet you can leave me on it,
If it's ceremonial, I think that would be my cup of tea.
Mr. Sanchez is taking over the Association of California Water Agencies Joint Powers Insurance Authority.
Go down
Thank
there
you
and
very much.
maybe run for president of it.
And the last but not least is Central Management Area Committee for the Sustainable Groundwater Management Act, or the SGMA.
If there's anyone that would like to take this up, this has come up. I mean, I've been asked by Bill Buell, this is a $1 million grant that is, we've supposedly gotten it, but there've been organizations that have gotten grants. We have met twice. Bill Buell is the paid person. It's out of San Ynez, but we meet here in our planning boardroom. But it's a requirement for the Groundwater Management Act. There are 3 organizations that handle all of the Santa Barbara. It is something that's requiring quite a bit of gathering of knowledge and presenting it and being able to. They have a staff over there, but there is nothing. There's no salary involved or compensation for the people. You just do it for the sake of the groundwater basin. And I think perhaps my involvement with CCWA was seemed like a natural point. Bill asked me if I would do it. I'm willing to do it, but we meet quarterly. I believe it's just getting off. It stopped and started, but now there's something has to be given to the Department of Water and Power for by 2019. In 2020 it will be up and running. There's a basin in San Ynez. Lompoc is the west, and Buellton is the center. We're the center of that, and we'll have a presentation when. Probably our next meeting. It's really been organizational, but there are 2 people on the board: Bill Buell and Ed Andrews. And Art Hibbets, and then we will have other representatives.
So, do you want to continue that?
I will continue, but
we need an alternate.
Would you consider being the alternate on that one? I have never been needed as an alternate, but you might know more about the groundwater than I do.
Groundwater, I think John would be great at.
All righty. That takes care of our appointments to boards, commissions, and committees. Moving on to business item number 14, discussion and direction regarding library zone change from Zone 1, Santa Barbara, to Zone 4, Goleta. Mr. Buczynski.
Madam Mayor, members of the City Council, at council direction, staff has been meeting with City of Goleta staff regarding the transfer to the City of Goleta. They've provided a proposed budget to operate the library, including one-time startup costs and an actual detailed breakdown of the administrative costs that they would be charging the city, which we've never received before. So the recommendation is to send a letter to the county, Santa Barbara, and Goleta accepting the transfer, that the existing staff be offered positions with the City of Goleta, and that we sign an agreement to continue the lease space for $1, and then we outline the maintenance responsibilities. So the cost is basically, this fiscal year we'll expend about $13,000 for one-time startup costs to get everything going. And we've budgeted $170,000 for the library, but only pay Santa Barbara $141,000, so we have the $13,000 available for the one time. So that's the one cost. The annual operating budget for the library, based on our budgeted amount of $170,000, is going to increase about $12,000. So we would have to budget an additional $12,000. So our library budget would go from about $170,000 to about $182,000. And that would cover the full services of the library that we currently have, same hours, same days, not an increase at this point.
No additional days.
No additional days. But we will get breakdowns on expenses during the year. We've had a very good relationship with the City of Goleta staff. And we do have two members of the City of Goleta staff here if you have any questions, Dana Grossi and Tony Gonzalez. So they've been part of the process as we moving forward. And Solvang has approved accepting the transfer this week to Goleta, and the City of Goleta City Council will be taking that up next week on December 18th, whether to accept Solvang in Buellton. But the first step is we have to show that we're willing and ready to move to Zone 4. So that...
This would be effective July 1st?
Effective July 1st, except for the one-time startup costs, because they would start before July 1st, they would have to start recoding the books, getting Goleta equipment in there, etc. So there'll be some transition time, but the official start date for Goleta would be July 1st.
Could we hear from the two representatives?
Absolutely. Do you mind coming up?
I would really appreciate it. I have a question. The gentleman that spoke earlier about the library.
Mr. Wada?
And what was his
Very much in favor.
Of what we're doing?
Yeah.
Okay. His wife. Right. That's the one I took. Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, good evening. I'm Dana Grossi, City of Goleta. I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Just let me know.
Thank you.
And
whatever you want us to know.
Oh, sure. Well, I should mention that the Goleta City Council next Tuesday, December 18th, will also be considering the same decision that you're considering tonight. And so we'll see what they have to say. I can't speak for them, but it seems like it's going in that direction. The cost model that we did come up with was mostly a project that our finance director worked on, and it utilizes a time and materials survey. So what we did to capture these costs, or estimates at this point I should say, is we looked at the actual support staff at Goleta City Hall who would be helping to support the Buellton Library's operations. So we identified the specific staff positions, we identified specific tasks, which you see in your attachments, so we estimated the hours per task and identified the specific position, and we then cost those out by looking at the actual salary and benefits, or the portion of the salary and benefits of the staff that would be involved, and that's how we were able to translate those hours, those estimated hours, into costs. And so what you see is that dollar amount estimate. We call it a management fee because it's calculated in a little bit different way than what the City of Santa Barbara does with their administrative fee. But just to be able to have you all draw an easy comparison to what you're paying now and what you would get with the City of Goleta, we converted our management fee into that percentage rate. So City of Santa Barbara currently charges 13.5% on all expenditures, and the City of Goleta would, according to this exercise we went through, it would be 14.62%, so slightly higher. I should point out that the City of Santa Barbara has discussed increasing their administrative fee in future years to 18% and possibly greater. So that's just something to keep in mind as well, is that costs would likely increase with the City of Santa Barbara. I could go on in different tangents and directions, but maybe I'll stop myself here.
And just the one thing to point out on this, that based on their worksheets in Santa Barbara, $7,000 or so less to get the same service with the City of Goleta at this time based on these. And I want to thank Goleta. Their finance director, Luke, worked on how many versions of the spreadsheet to get to where we're at, but several versions to try to minimize the expense and the cost to Buellton to provide the service. So they really worked with us.
I can't thank you enough. You came up, you toured the library, really checked it out and saw why it's so special to us, to our city. I did have one question. One of the questions, as a friend of the Buellton Library, we have a hard time getting people to make donations because 25% of that donation goes toward administrative costs in Santa Barbara right now. And when people find out that if they're going to, that a quarter of what they're giving us, Will Goleta be doing the same thing? Do you know?
No, we won't. And we actually tried to visualize that in our budget, in the draft budget that we prepared for the Buellton Library. We understand, and our library director, Allison Gray, understands that that's a real issue that Goleta has had as well, where people don't want their donations to be subject to a fee. That doesn't seem... well, it's just not
right.
Yeah, it's not right. So if you look to the draft budget, you can see that we backed out the costs just to kind of show what would not be applicable to our management fee. So it looks like for donations, your friends of the Buellton Library revenues are about $2,000 and change, and so in the budgets we backed out the fee that would have been attached to that, which would have been that 14.62%.
Right.
And so that dollar amount is just under $300 of those donations. And so
that's been back.
Yeah. So in other words, the quick answer to your question is no, we wouldn't subject that to the fee.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
And I can't tell you, after asking Santa Barbara for a couple years now for a breakdown of administrative costs, how refreshing, how wonderful it is to actually see a breakdown of administrative costs. I truly, truly appreciate it. From conversations so far, Goleta has been more welcoming, more talking about what a wonderful merge this could be, assuming that their city council goes along with it too.
Yeah.
And I think this is a good move for our town.
Thanks.
Any other questions?
No, I'm happy that this has moved in this direction, because I think the community has supported many organizations, many things in the community get a lot of support from the rank and file, the citizens. And then when we can relay to them that 100% of their donation is going to go for the benefit of our library and your library collectively, that you're able to provide things to us that we couldn't do on our own, so you have a better buying power, and we're enjoying that. And I think it helps the community to continue to do that.
Yeah, it's good to hear.
And I'm just happy you came in.
Oh, thank you.
Well, I just want to say that, both Holly and I have been on the library advisory committee and have been through these discussions, and I think that some of the issues that, Holly just mentioned that, we didn't really see a breakdown in administrative fees, and so for us, it's like, why can't you do that, And I think that really going in this direction with you guys, that it's more transparent. I think we're going to get better service from the Goleta system, and I think we're moving in the right direction.
I do have, in the letter that was sent to the city of Goleta, I am truly, truly hoping, one of the biggest problems we had moving from Lompoc to Santa Barbara was that we lost our staff. And this is such a small community that when we lost our staff, Liz and Sherry, it really hurt the community. And now that we have a staff here, I'm truly hoping that there's some way that we can work it so that we keep the staff that we have. You build in a little town of just over 5,000, we have bonds. But anyway.
Yeah, and that's...
I know I can't...
Well, that's we use the assumption in these calculations that, and it is our hope that we would just be able to transition the staff over to Goleta's compensation schedule. And so we would try to match the pay that they're getting through the city of Santa Barbara currently, and match as closely as possible in terms of the hourly wage. So, yeah, we want that to be a smooth transition, so.
Thank you. Thank you very much for coming tonight.
Of course. Thank you. Appreciate it.
All righty. I need to open it up to the public. I don't have any speaker slips. I don't have any, but this is your opportunity to get up with questions, comments. I don't see anybody. Bring it back to council for a decision.
And it's just a consensus. We don't need a motion or a second.
Do we want to read that, Mark?
Well, we're just, I would imagine that the consensus is that we do want to go from Zone 1 to Zone 4.
With the letter that I've
With
provided.
the letter
and sent
that
a
our
letter
city
out.
manager has written to them. Is that?
The city council authorizes.
Should you have a motion in a second? Or you want
Yeah.
some motion?
We don't need it,
Money
but
thing.
It's
I
discussion and
wouldn't
direction.
mind it tonight, just to make it very clear
Discussion and
that we have it.
I think a motion.
I'd like to second.
All right.
Well, I don't know that there's been a, how about we start from the beginning? I recommend that the city council accept the transfer of the Buellton Library from Zone 1, Santa Barbara, to Zone 4, Goleta, subject to approval of the Goleta City Council, and authorize the city manager to send a letter included as attachment 4 and authorize the city manager to use a library fund budget surplus for a one-time startup cost as presented by staff.
That's pretty thorough. Are you going to second
I'd
that
like to
motion?
second that, please.
All righty, Linda.
Okay, Councilmember King.
Aye.
Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Mayor Sierra.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Just like that. There it is. There you go.
Okay.
I didn't even add it.
Our last business item, number 15, discussion and direction on sharrows and decorative crosswalks in the area of Hanada and Oak Valley schools.
Madam Mayor, I just wanted to, I thought of something in my report for the Groundwater Management Act. I neglected to mention that Rose Hess has been at every contact point for the organization that we have, and she attends them, and I apologize, Rose. I looked over and there you were, and I forgot to mention.
Thank you, Rose.
You were going to go.
I'd like a standing ovation for Rose Hess, please.
All righty.
Thank you, Rose.
Rose, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Member City Council. So this item before you tonight has two sections we really want to discuss. So we'll kind of split them out for discussion. The first one has to do with the sharrows. We've been receiving requests from the cycling advocate groups to continue our implementation of our bicycle and pedestrian master plan on 2nd Street in particular. So as part of our bicycle and pedestrian master plan, 2nd Street was identified as an area we could potentially include a Class 2 or Class 3 bike route. Class 2 would be the striped bike lane. Class 3 is the sharrow type, so you're just sharing the road with your motorists. Staff did complete the review of the locations. In this area, 2nd Street, we have a lot of school safety pavement markings on the road. So that was our focus when we did this past summer's road pavement maintenance work. So we made sure that was down in the ground. And we have attachment 1 for you that we drafted what the street would look like if we put sharrows in the road, because one of our concerns was if we start putting sharrows down, is that going to muddle up all the pavement markings we already have and kind of dilute the awareness we wanted to raise, for the school zones. So in looking at it, it should work out. What you see is a draft. It's not the actual plans we would use in the actual locations of all the pavement markings, but it does show that we can space out the sharrows enough to still have those markings on the ground and implement a Class 3 type facility on 2nd Street. So if council would like to move forward with that, we would include these sharrows in our 1819 road maintenance project. So when we restripe that area of road pavement maintenance, we will include these so it's kind of lumped up into that line item for more efficiency in the construction.
The cost may stay down a little bit.
The cost would be $5,000 to $10,000, correct?
Right, and that's just, pulling it out now, and then it would be a lump sum line item when we do that project.
Right. I think it's a great idea. Thank you. Any questions for Rose? We'll just take this one and then go on to the other one. So any questions for Rose regarding sharrows?
I just wanted to find out if we're not going to have the green paint on the street.
No, the green paint, no.
That stuff on the avenue is already deteriorating.
Yeah, we wouldn't put that in a residential. The whole point of the green pavement markings is in a busy commercial area that you want, that notice to really stand out.
Right. And that's a Class 1. On the avenue.
No, that's not Class 1, that's Class 2. Just a special.
So it would be painted yellow?
So 3 is sharrows only?
Yes. So it wouldn't be yellow, it would be white And then it would have the bicycle type markings that the stencil that you see in the exhibit.
Yeah.
Do you want to do these as two separate? Or?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so. Again, no speaker slips on this item. Council, it seems like kind of a no-brainer to me.
I would
make the motion. I'll second it if you make the motion.
I move that we approve painting sharrows on 2nd Street between Riverview and, is it, how far down does it go?
As a class 3 only?
It's class 3 only. It's not that big a
I
street.
will second that.
Okay. Linda?
Okay, Mayor Sierra.
Aye.
Councilmember King.
Aye.
Vice Mayor Andrusik.
Aye.
And Councilmember Sanchez.
Aye.
Wonderful. Okay, to part 2 of this then, we have decorative crosswalks. This was
Part
something I
2.
wanted brought up.
Yes. So decorative crosswalks are used in different communities as, you know, a different and interesting feature. They are, you know, beautiful artworks. At this time, however, staff does recommend against implementing it due to the recommendations from our JPIA, as well as the general direction that we have using the Federal Highway Administration and the Manual for Uniform Traffic Control Devices guidelines as far as what a crosswalk should be. Those are traffic control elements. They have to be uniform and consistent. And the FHWA has a specific guide in there that actually states, you know, the use of the crosswalk art is contrary to the goal of increased safety and most likely could be a contributing factor to a false sense of security for both motorists and pedestrians. And our JPIA representative is very adamant as well that they would like us to continue to follow the MUTCD guidelines. Now, having said that, these are our technical recommendations. Especially if you notice other cities have implemented them. So it is at council's discretion if you want to go ahead and implement them. So we've attached an exhibit, attachment 2 for you that shows the crosswalks that we have around the school areas, because I believe, Mayor Sierra, you were saying that they would be a project for the schools art program to possibly do. So if you were to elect to move forward with that, if you can also identify what specific locations those would be placed at.
Right. Yeah. I thought it would, I still think it's a good idea. I don't think every crosswalk in town close to schools need to be painted. I think that then you kind of lose the whole art to it. I have talked to our engineers and was told that I passed out examples. I don't know if you got one. I thought I left one. Some of them are, you know, there's like a fish in a crosswalk and there's geese in a crosswalk. They're all really fun, and I totally agree that that's not the look I'm really going for. I'm looking, I was told by our engineer, city engineers, that if it's a repetitive pattern, that there are patterns out there that can be painted that definitely still look like a crosswalk. You still have the lines on the side and it's a pattern. I just think it would be, you know, we have a lot of parents that speed around Oak Valley Park. I'm sure Hannah did. The ones I hear about is Oak Valley Park, and I would really like to see the school get involved with the city to paint. I'd like to just start with the one crosswalk on Alder and 2nd Street in front of the school.
Okay.
You know the one I'm talking about?
On 2nd Street, right.
Alder and 2nd Street. I would like to just start with that one. Get the school involved with it. I looked into costs. Costs can go as high depending on the type of paint you use, because that decides how long it's going to last. Upwards of $6,500. You can get if you get the right paint, it stays there for 6 or 7 years. I just think our city doesn't do that much with the schools, and we need to be more interactive with the schools. I think if we could all agree on a pattern and have a community paint project with the school, one crosswalk, see what it looks like. The city would have to approve, our city Public Works would have to approve the plan before it went down. Again, I don't think I want, I love the idea of swimming fish and everything, but I agree with Rose that that's not necessarily the safest thing for our children. But I would like to see something done. We need to get more involved with the schools, and I think that one crosswalk would be a good first step. So.
Is it the one that's on page 83 in our packet? Or
Page 83 on your packet. That one right there. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. That's the one I'm looking at. I think if the kids take an active part in this, then the parents are going to slow down too. It's going to, you know, this is our crosswalk. And I'm hoping, you know, the safety of our kids is I mean, that's our primary job, our resident safety. But I truly do believe that if we do something different there, that it might actually slow traffic down.
I have a question. Is this the reflective, like in front at Second and La Lata, we got 4 reflective things going. Is this also have that same reflective?
Yes.
So, okay. And that's what I would, and concerning about safety, I was thinking if they already have the reflectors, and I think that if it's within something that's already within a reflector, you've already got the double be careful thing going.
Yeah, so if you paint it inside that.
With that, I wouldn't like, I don't know, like you said, for safety, some other place that it wasn't, but it's just at the school. And would that also include the 4 at La Lata?
Not at this time.
No,
not at this time. I just want to try one. I'd like to see if we could get something going on with Superintendent Haggard and Oak Valley School, and just see if we can come to an agreement on some type of sidewalk that's different, that might slow traffic down a little bit. That's my goal. Before I bring it back, I need to open it up, but did anybody? Okay, I bring it back then.
That, the first time you come upon the Lata and Second, it's
pretty
abrupt.
abrupt.
Striking.
Yeah.
If you're dozing off, it wakes you up. It's a bright section. I don't know if anyone else has that same feeling. I don't find that destructive or in any way hazardous to our. Perhaps the sheriff can respond if just that brightness. It brings you alert to that's an area where there's a lot of activity, right. Pedestrians.
That's why we haven't marked
understand,
that way.
But it's working. And
yeah, I agree.
I think it's great.
Too. Yeah.
We're not doing any more of those.
I'm not trying to get rid of the.
I understand.
Just the inside in a pattern.
As long as we don't have people wanting to camp out there, that's probably, you got to keep moving. Sometimes there have been some busy designs in some communities I've seen.
And can I clarify, you mentioned the cost of $6,500. Who would be spending the $6,500?
The city would.
Okay,
it
so
would
that
be
would
a
be
city
part of
cost.
your...
I think our schools have
Is that
per sidewalk, per crosswalk, excuse me.
So if we did the 4 at the other school,
if we did, that would add up to what?
25,000.
26,000 maximum. I mean, I think we should put a cap on it. What I was reading said up to 6,500. I think we should put a cap on that. At 6,500, if it gets done for half that, I would like to give it a try, and that seems like the best location to start.
And that's why I brought it up, so we don't have to come back if we're going to expend money. I want to make sure that
Yes, no, that would be a city expense.
So you're talking about this crosswalk right here. So.
Just the one.
Okay. Madam Mayor.
Please.
As a professional traffic officer for 25 years, I think when I first saw that, they had animals and things over off of Atterdag. I was rather flabbergasted at what they had done to the crosswalk. Now, as a professional traffic officer for 25 years, I can tell you that anything that distracts a driver from other than driving and looking for a pedestrian on the side of the road, in my personal professional opinion, is the wrong direction. Because if someone is driving down the road and they see all these pretty flowers or fish or whatever, they're looking at the crosswalk and not looking at somebody possibly walking into the crosswalk. I know that this would be, you know, a nice gesture around the school, it would be fun, but we're not talking about fun, we're talking about people with a 2,500-pound car at 25 or 30 miles an hour should be watching where they're going and not looking at the road. I understand the thought process behind this, how it would be fun, interesting for the kids, whatever the case is, but not all parents that drive through there every day who have already taken a look at this, you know, and is going to ignore it, is going to be going by that road. And as Rose pointed out, that there have been studies that these kind of things distract drivers, and anytime you do that, you are taking the risk of hitting a pedestrian within that crosswalk. So I would be absolutely adamantly opposed to the city taking on that liability, and why Solvang did it is totally beyond me. The only, you know what will slow people down? That guy sitting in the corner.
And we do appreciate you very, very much.
We have a painting of a police car in the crosswalk.
You could paint the police car. I just, you know, when I spoke to M&S, and I said, you know, I've been told that this is a really bad idea, and I was told that there are certain patterns that do fit. That your farm animals, I'm not saying I want to see farm animals in a crosswalk by a school, but I would like to see something done. I'd like to just open the possibility, talk to Supervisor Haggard and see if the school is even interested in doing this. But if you use a specific pattern, that it can be done safely. But I get it. I figure I may be fighting a losing battle, but I just really wanted to bring this forward.
It's, you know, it's our road. It's up to this council sitting up here. It has nothing to do with the school, and I think that putting any type of pattern in there is an absolute bad idea, unless it's hash marks, like what's on the current crosswalk.
Okay. Then I will make a motion, and I'll see if there's a second. And if I've been shot down before, but I would like to move to discuss the possibility of working with the Buellton Unified School District for painting a crosswalk that has been approved by our Public Works and Engineering Department at 2nd and Alder.
For a cost not to exceed.
For a cost not to exceed $6,500.
I really think we need to get, because the school represents the students that are there and those families, and I really feel like this isn't an expense above and beyond the normal, and it's designed to attract it to. The whole idea is to make people aware that you don't need to be coming through there at your regular speed. You need to either stop or slow down, as the signs may indicate. But I think if the school isn't willing to participate, I think we're probably we're going in the wrong direction. I think it should be a partnership, and I know that
So would you like me to go to Dr. Haggard first?
I really think we should find out what because they represent, they're going to hear from the parents. The parents are it's the children from those.
Well, this was totally something I would like to see done, and if I spoke to the superintendent of schools and he said, absolutely not, bad idea, then the city would back off immediately. I mean, the whole point is that the kids need to be safe.
Okay, and that
Our children
Dave
need
brings
to be
up
safe.
a point that just really, we need to come back down to reality and say, I don't want to hear, I told you so. Someone says, you know, we wouldn't have had the ambulance stopped in that crosswalk because, and we're going to, you know, we think you're responsible for creating that that nuisance or attraction. Maybe it's not a nuisance, maybe it's just an attraction that causes people. But I think when we first talked about trying to slow people down, we talked about the Solvang School area. It was a brilliant yellow on the 4x4 posts, and then in the crosswalk, and that was it. And I think I commented about that we should try something like that. I think when we had a discussion a couple of months ago about it.
Okay.
But I think for us to ask the school to take some ownership of it would be in order, rather than just to say that we want to do it. But
Okay.
I think if they're going to just say, well, you go ahead and do what you want, then I wonder what happens with the case, the court cases when something does happen. Because I think Dave brought up a point that, I can tell you that this is how it's going to play out, and you say it, and the fellow that writes the ticket says it, then I guess I would like the school to agree to that, or at least get their buy-in. And if they say, oh no, they'll be responsible, but I don't know, if they're not in it, whose insurance pays this?
Okay. Well, it is a city street, so it would be our insurance.
I think
I will reiterate, it's not the school's road, it's not the school's responsibility.
So
It's
a
us.
motion was made, and do I hear a second? I don't hear a second, so we just move on then.
Yes.
I had to give it a try. I think it's a.
Could I make a suggestion? Then maybe we could talk to the school and have them do one in their parking lot with our,
That's a great idea.
Then you'd have, they'd either all fall in love with it or say it's a bad idea. But if it's promoted, then you'd have the citizens see it and feel it and
When
live
they're
it.
going to pick
And
the
then,
kids up.
but it would be theirs in their parking lot. I think it'd be wonderful in the schools. But like you're saying, safety-wise for us, I don't think it's our place to jump into the street for them, it sounds like they're going to.
Thank
Does
you.
that work with you, Rose?
But-
Thank you for the
Let's-
suggestion.
Can I throw a butt in there?
No.
Okay.
Thank you, John.
Whose butt?
Well, I'll tell you the law. That road that goes through the school is a highway. And I'll recite you the section. A where place of whatever nature, publicly maintained, open for the use of vehicular traffic, highway includes street. That's a road.
Alrighty. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Councilmember King. Moving on to City Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The Planning Commission will be having two projects next week. One is the hotels, where you see the story poles, and they're complying with the specific plan as far as height and et cetera. So that'll be before the commission. And the time extension for the Meritage project, we'll be making a recommendation to the City Council, and that'll be before the City Council at your second meeting, assuming the Planning Commission does a recommendation of approval.
Yeah, I saw that in the paper. That was this week, last week's paper.
They haven't forgot about speed humps. They'll be coming in January, probably the second meeting in January, so that's on our radar. And the central homes, the 8 single-family homes on Second and Central?
First and Central.
First and Central will be coming to the City Council on January 10th. It was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission.
Oh, good.
So that'll be to you guys. It's a tentative map. That's why the project comes before the City Council. This is our last meeting of the year, so I wish everybody a happy holidays, and we'll start up with 2019 and move forward.
Thank you.
How about it?
Alrighty. And with that, I adjourn our meeting. I'll see you all